Hello students, today we are going to discuss about a topic called photoperiodism. See, in plants growth and development, so far we have discussed about the various kinds of hormones which are called as your plant growth regulators in two forms, that is your growth promoters and growth inhibitors. The growth promoters, we have seen that they are associated with the growth of the plant. Now this growth of the plant is in terms of the height of the plant, which is the shoot growth, both in terms of stem, the branches, the leaves, and also in terms of the growth of the roots. Then we have seen the growth in terms of flowering. Then after the flowering, then we have seen then when the certain parts of the plants turn old, then due to the synthesis of abscisic acid, there is an abscission zone which is created that leads to the falling of the leaves, or the there also abscission zone is created, because of which the phloem does not transport the food, rather the phloem dislocates the food to the younger parts of the plant, which utilizes it for the formation of the various parts of the plant, including the flowers, fruits and all. And ethylene, of course, is associated with the ripening of the fruit, and also it has been noticed by the scientists that flowering in plants is also as a result of the effect of various kinds of phytohormones like your auxin, gibberellin, then your cytokinin, as well as that of your ethylene. But this photoperiodism is actually noticed by the two scientists accidentally. Now these two scientists were Garner and Allard. Now Garner and Allard, what they were doing is that they were working on a particular plant which is a tobacco plant, and this plant is called tobacco Maryland mammoth plant. Now this plant generally flowers during the time of your winter. Now they wanted to know that can it happen that this plant can flower during the summer also, because there is a duration of difference in the light which is actually a plant is exposed to, and depending upon that also plants show this flowering in them. But it was never noticed until and unless it was your Garner and Allard, and they noticed that this plant, this Maryland mammoth tobacco plant, when it was getting a continuous period of darkness, a longer period of darkness compared to a period of light which was shorter, then only this plant could show flowering. Try to understand what I am telling, that this plant can only flower when a period of darkness was longer provided to this plant compared to the period of exposure to the light. And this resulted into some formation of a substance. That time they did not know what is the substance known as, which resulted into the transformation of the vegetative buds into floral buds. And that is how the idea of this photoperiodism came into the mind of these two scientists. Now what do you mean by photoperiodism? It is a exposure of a plant to a certain limited amount of light, because of which the vegetative growth can be converted into now the reproductive maturity, and the flowering can happen in them. So flowering is not only the effect of the four hormones which I have just told you, that is about the auxin, gibberellin, ethylene, or that of your cytokinin, but it is of course the exposure of the plant for a certain length of time, length of daytime to this plant, which results into the formation of certain substance. They call it as florigen. Although this substance is not the scientists are not able to extract it. This substance is not being able to get it in its original form extracted, but they are capable of finding out that yes, there is a conversion of certain substance which they named it as florigen, which goes to the leaf apex or the vegetative apex, and that results into formation of flowering in the plants. Now depending upon the exposure of any kind of plant, see, terrestrial plants are exposed to different forms of light during the different seasons of the year. So when they are exposed to certain day length, you will see it's written there about in your book about critical day length. Now this length of time, when it exceeds and a plant then flowers, we call those plants to be long day plant. That means the period of exposure to these plants for the light should be exceeding more than that of the critical day length. then we call them as the long day plant. Now long day plant, what are the examples? Spinach, henbane, these are the examples of the long day plant. That means they need an exposure of light, continuous exposure of light, more compared to the period of darkness. Okay, so then they will be called as your long day plant. Then there is another group of plant which we call it as your short day plant. Now what is a short day plant? These plants require light span or exposure to the light lesser than that of the critical day length. Okay, so lesser than that of the critical day length, that means more exposure to night or more exposure to darkness, then these plants can flower, or the conversion of the vegetative bud into flowering bud, that is the formation of florigen can take place in them. And then examples of such plants, just now we have discussed about the tobacco Maryland mammoth plant, which of course this two scientists Garner and Allen have worked upon. Besides this, there is xanthium, there is corn, there is soybean, many plants are there. And there are certain other group, the third category of plants are there, which we call it as your day neutral plant. So when it is coming neutral, neutral means it is having no effect of being exposed to light period. Okay, that means whether the light period is long, whether the light period is short, these plants do not worry about that. In them the florigen comes automatically once the vegetative growth has been achieved. The sexual maturity has been achieved. Once the vegetative growth or the juvenile phase of the plant is over, then this plant automatically moves on to its reproductive phase, and the examples are tomato, brinjal, chili. These are the examples of your day neutral plants. That means it is irrespective of the light given to this plant is going to flower once its vegetative phase has been over. Okay, so depending upon the critical day length, or we can say that when the photoperiodism, depending upon that is the basis of the length of the photoperiodism, the plants can be classified into three groups, that is long day plant, short day plant and day neutral plant. But you will see that there is further classification of these plants, long short day plant or short long day plant and all these things. But in our NCERT, basically these three groups are there, that is long day plant, short day plant and day neutral plant. We are going by that. Now one thing here I would like to say, although it is not mentioned, but I would like to mention is that, see, this long day plants, that means they require a light span, exposure to light span more than that of the critical day length, and thus that is the night span will be shorter. Suppose if we are growing this plant during a time when there is a seasonal variation, say for example winter, when the days are not so lengthy but the nights are lengthy. In that case, if in the period of darkness intermittent light is provided, then it has been noticed that these plants also can start flowering. That means they require a certain period of exposure to light. Okay, so during the daytime they are getting a continuous supply of light, but that light is not sufficient for them to flower. So since the night is stretched long, so during this night period, if they are getting a intermittent light, means light is provided to the plant, breaking the darkness, that cycle is broken. In that case, it has been noticed that they flower. So this is against nature, of course, but experiments are always welcome in science. So this way experiments has been created, and it has been noticed that the long day plant during the time of winter, when the critical day length cannot be overcome, it cannot be more than the critical day length exposure of the plant to such conditions. So if we give light during the period of darkness, then the long day plant during the winter time also we can find that they sometimes flower. Okay, and of course we have noticed that if a balance of these four hormones are sometimes given, that is your auxin, your gibberellin, cytokinin, and that of your that is your ethylene, then also they flower. So this is the various kinds of experiment which the scientists are always working upon, and it's still in the process, because I have said that the Florigen have not been able to getting extracted in its original form. So that's the reason why the work is still going on and on. The last topic which has been discussed under this topic of plant growth and development is about vernalization. Now vernalization, what is this vernalization? Is that even if the plants like long day plant, short day plant or day neutral plant, they are getting the exposure of light which is required for them to flower, it has been noticed that some flowers still don't flower. Okay, some plants do not flower even if they are getting the proper exposure to darkness or proper period of exposure to light, but still they fail to flower. Now why do they fail to flower, or how can they be made to flower? Is that if they are sometimes before sowing them or before growing them, if they are subjected to certain cold temperature or low temperature, and then they are grown, then it has been noticed that those plants which fail to flower, even if they are exposed correctly to the light which they require for flowering, they start flowering. So that cold treatment or the low temperature which is provided to the seeds prior to its growing into the soil, that initiates or that produces a kind of substance in them which is called as your vernalin. Okay, this vernalin, from there the word or the term has come as your vernalization. So vernalin is, you can say, some kind of like that what we have said about Florigen. Similarly, vernalin also is not being extracted properly. So vernalin is a substance which is secreted in the seeds of a plant when it is exposed to low temperature prior to its sowing, so that when it is sown, then it can, even if irrespective of the photoperiods or not having the proper photoperiods, it can start flowering. Okay, that is about the vernalization. Now vernalization is very good for those plants, like for example, if you talk about the biennial plants, biennial plants, for the first full season, one season they just waste upon their vegetative growth, and the second season they start flowering. So those plants, if we treat them, if we give them the cold temperature, then they can start flowering within one season itself. So that is the advantage of vernalization to such kind of crops or such kind of plants, especially in terms of your crops which are biennials. So that's all for today's class of photoperiodism and that of your vernalization. I hope you have understood this topic and the previous videos, the various phytohormones. That's all for today's class.